It's cooking time, bitches. So, today, I'm doing three things this evening. I'm going to make some pear butter, which is just apple butter, but made with pears instead of apples. And I'm going to make a baked ziti, and I'm going to make a brioche. It sounds like I'm doing a whole bunch of fancy stuff. I'm not. I mean, the brioche maybe, because I don't know what I'm doing, and I messed it up last time, but that's the only one that's actually fancy here. I was doing pear butter because I got these gnarly looking pears from Ken's mom. I didn't realize that they were on their way out when we got them, so I didn't think to do anything with them in advance. There were probably 7 of them. I've cut up 6, and that's all the viable fruit I've gotten off of it. Usually, if I'm making pear butter, I'm using way more because this is a whole ass process. And usually I can them. I will be canning this. You have to can pear butter, but usually I bust out the pressure canner, and that thing is worth it if you're making a whole bunch of something. And this is probably going to give me like 4 cans tops. So I'll actually be canning this tomorrow. I'll do another little thing about that, but I'm going to be doing it in a water bath tomorrow instead of a proper pressure canner. It will work fine for this. There are some things that you can't do in a water bath canning process. This one is fine. The number one offender is tomatoes. This one's no big deal. But when you're doing pears, pretty much the entire thing is edible. So I'm just going to cut out all the fruit. There should be just like a little tiny bit of core in the middle because this is one of the better looking ones. So I'm just going to trim off all the fruit just into big chunks like this. I'm going to cut them down later. And so, of course, if this was an apple, I would absolutely have to stop here, but it's not. It's a pear. With pears, you really just don't want to get the tree bits on it and the seeds. But like there's a ton more fruit actually, or flesh, I guess, actually in here. And it's just like you don't want that bit right there, but the rest of this is totally good. Oh. So that's one nice thing with these. Ignore that sound. They're hanging stuff downstairs. But you see how at the end of the day, as long as the fruit is good, the reason why I've got so little here is because there was a lot of just bad fruit here. That looks good. Okay. The other thing is if you are working with something that's got a lot of juice, obviously the number one offender is watermelon, but these pears are real juicy because they were so bright. You always want to put a towel under your cutting board. It'll collect it, it'll stabilize the cutting board, and it'll keep it from moving around on you. So I'm just going to chop these up a bit finer. This is going to go into a slow cooker crock pot after this. So I'm just chopping this. Ultimately, what'll happen with it is, depending on what we have on hand tomorrow morning, I'll either throw it into I'm forgetting words right now. I'll throw it into a food processor, or I believe we have an emulsion blender floating around, which works a little bit better for this sort of thing. I don't remember though. That's correct. I don't know what is in my house. So that is nice and chopped up. I say that as I keep going because this is how I am. Like, it just felt like the right thing to say. But honestly, I could chop this all day. But once I am happy with the chop on it, I'm going to go ahead and toss it into my crock pot. So what we're using today, let me get these knives out of the way. And let me put this down for a second. I've got my water boiling over there for Ziti. What we're using today is a novelty Star Wars themed crock pot. It's our smaller crock pot. That'll work. Although now that I'm looking at it, I don't know if it's gonna work, but we'll find out. And that is the joy of live streaming cooking. I don't know if this is actually gonna work. Oh yeah. Also, I am a huge proponent of these bendy cutting boards for exactly that reason. Okay, so that is all in the crock pot. And crock pot filled with chopped pears. I'm going to step away for just a second to get some ziti noodles in the boiling water. And also wash my hands. Also, when I say ziti noodles, I mean penne, because it just doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. All right, give this a little stir. Okay, so for this, I don't have a recipe. I will never give you a recipe. I'm not gonna post a recipe for this, and that's because I don't have a recipe. I just dump stuff into it. It's pears. What tastes good with pears? Obviously, we want it to be a little bit sweet, so I'm gonna dump a bit of honey into those pears. Just, I don't know. That's probably a couple tablespoons. I don't know. And usually, again, like you just want a fair amount of sugar. You don't want a ton of sugar. I've seen some like crazy recipes that call for like cups and cups of sugar. We are absolutely not doing that. We are doing, I don't know, 3 tablespoons. I don't know. I use an eating teaspoon. There's no way to know how much I just put in. That's okay. The bigger thing with pears is the seasoning that goes into it. You can use like whole ass ginger, but I'm using this ginger paste that we have. You can use dry ginger too, but like I don't like dry ginger. I try not to use dry ginger if I can avoid it. And what is accessible to me here? Man, my cat's freaking out right now. I'm going to dump some cinnamon into it. That much cinnamon. That was a lot more cinnamon than I wanted, but it doesn't matter. And just a bit of nutmeg. That was a much more reasonable amount of nutmeg. And last ingredient, if I can get it out, just a little bit of vanilla. So we're just gonna set this on the crock pot. We're gonna set this on high for now. We're gonna let it get high for we're gonna let it get warm at the high temp for, I don't know, probably an hour. And then we'll knock it down to the low temp, and then we will put it on warm because I have all of those options, so why not use them? If you are worried and you want to put water in it, you can. That's just going to extend your cook time on it. So just be aware that like any water you add into it, you're also going to have to, it's going to have to boil out of it. So yeah, I try not to use any water in it. I'll give it a stir in an hour. I realize I didn't stir it at all now. It doesn't matter. I'll give it a stir in an hour, make sure it's not sticking or anything. But I should be good. This is literally going to sit overnight. It is 6 p.m. here. I'll probably deal with that about 9, 10 a.m. tomorrow. So next thing we are doing is ziti. Noodles are in the oven, or in the pot right now. So listen to me. Ziti is the stupid easiest thing to make. It's basically lasagna for lazy people who don't feel like making lasagna. To that end, I've got this lasagna filling that Ken made for Christmas. He made way too much of it, and now this is going to be going into the ziti. Usually I would do all of this on the stove top, but since that's already set up, I don't have to worry so much about it. I'm going to rinse this out right quick. Also, I'm going to preheat the oven. I'm going to preheat that oven to 350. All right, and I just gave that pasta a bit of a stir. But also, I'm an idiot. I dropped the heat way down. That was a bad play. You know what? I'm not going to use this bowl. Ignore all of that. I'm going to go ahead and mix stuff in a saucepan and then throw that on the oven while I do more demo over here. So for ziti, I've got the noodles on. What I need is sauce. Because of who we are as people, I've got 2 open jars of sauce in the fridge. One is this red sauce. I'm going to pronounce it arrabbiata. I could be wrong about that. That's okay. It's a bit spicy. It's a red sauce. It's going to go in there. I always think this little itty bitty spatula at the end of this big spatula is going to be useful. It never is. It did a mediocre job. That's okay. This is glass, so it's going in the trash. And then I also have this jar of roasted garlic Alfredo sauce. It's a white sauce. I always put a mix of red and white sauce in my ziti. It's like my secret ingredient, so to speak. I really, as evidenced by me just grabbing these out of the fridge, I don't care what kind it is. You can do just straight red sauce, marinara, whatever. You can do that if you want. But this, I don't know, this always gives it a bit more pizzazz. I feel like I'm actually cooking and not just like throwing random crap together when I do this. Okay, so there is my red sauce and my white sauce combined. Again, I have a glass container, so I'll throw it out. If they were plastic, I'd be recycling them. In case you're wondering what else I would be doing other than throwing them out. Okay, so I've got red sauce, I've got white sauce. I'm gonna jazz the sauce up just a little bit. Obviously, that means salt and pepper. So a little bit of salt, not just salt and pepper. The way I said that, I was like, "Ooh, that sounded real white right there." Like I don't know how to put flavor in food. Okay, so we'll always start with some salt and pepper. And always do a bit more pepper than you think you need. And then we're gonna put a bit of garlic in it. Okay. So right now, you might be thinking, what in the fuck is that tub of garlic? It's just what we have for garlic now. We are now people who keep garlic, who buy garlic in insane quantities. We cook a lot, it's fine. We had a whole conversation about it before we decided that this was more cost effective. It is brand new, we just bought it a couple hours ago. So let me get that seal off of it. Oh, that is an odor. Okay, so you might want to ask me how much garlic to put in. I don't know, I'm putting in that much. How much is that? I don't know. Just go in there. And then I'm just gonna put a bit of spices in it, or a bit of herbs in it, depending on what we have. So that's already spicy. So wow, I'm really low on spices right now. Okay, so this is like all I've got for basil. So that's how much basil's going in there. Well, that ended up being a fair amount of basil, but that's the end of our basil. And I'm just going to put a bit of thyme in it. I'm going to call it a day. Okay. So the sauce is seasoned. I'm going to mix it together with this stupid little spatula. At Christmas, we were making a whole bunch of jokes about, I think it was Scary Movie 2, where the guy had the little hand that was stirring things with his little hand. I feel like that right now with this little stupid spatula. Consider this a cautionary tale. Just get the right equipment. Don't be me. Get the right equipment. Okay. So that's just going on the stovetop to heat up a bit. Is there anything in there that absolutely needs to be cooked? No. The only thing that absolutely needs to be cooked is the eggs that are going in this. Now, Ken made this at Christmas. I have no idea if there are eggs in it. I'm going to put 2 eggs in it. If you're thinking to yourself right now, well, what if there's already 2 eggs in it? It's okay, whatever. It doesn't matter. This is the world of Ziti. After this, I'm going to make brioche. I'm going to bust that cookbook out. I'm going to read every line. I'm going to study every line. Oh, God, don't mess it up. Make sure everything's measured properly. Make sure everything's leveled. For Ziti, no, not even a little bit. Okay. I'm gonna mix this in so I don't have a whole bunch of splashing because I'm in this little container and it's just come out of the refrigerator. I am gonna use this fork to just kind of break everything up. Oh, so what is in here is ricotta cheese and spinach and mushrooms. The mushrooms were cooked in advance. I pretty much always cook stuff like that in advance, just so I don't have to worry about the cook time on it. And that's part of why that sauce is going right now. Obviously, the sauce doesn't need to be cooked, but I like to incorporate everything as I go. So usually what I would have done here is I would have cooked up the veggies and then I would have thrown that sauce in. And then I would have mixed together one thing of ricotta cheese with 2 eggs. And then I would have dumped that in as well. So, and the reason that I'm mixing the eggs into this instead of into the other thing is because it's hot. And of course, if you take like a regular egg and toss it into something hot, you get scrambled eggs. This is something that I mentioned. Oh, I don't remember what recipe it was, but this came up in another recipe that I did for y'all. Okay, so that is the mix right there for the probably spinach, ricotta, mushroom, eggs. And that's all going to get thrown into the red sauce mix right now, which I will bring over in a minute. All right, so I'm checking my pasta right now. And that pasta is done. The easiest way to check for doneness with pasta is you eat it. That's fair, and you know it.
I know. That's what I do it. That is the best way to do it. All this throw it and see if it sticks.
Yeah,
BS.
please don't throw pasta at your walls. That is terrible. Hey, Pronoun. Oh, Happy New Year. It's already New Year where you are. No, there should be a couple hours left. I'm making ziti, so I'm kind of off screen right now while I strain pasta.
Did you make the other dough too, or just the ziti?
I have not made the ziti yet, or I've not made the brioche yet. The brioche is going to be while this is baking.
Okay.
Okay, so I just dumped the ziti into the colander to drain it, and I'm going to splash it with some cold water, and I'm going to get a corkscrew, no, a cork pad. There we go. Okay, so in here, I've got the combination of the red sauce and the white sauce and the seasoning that I added to it. And then I've got the ricotta cheese and the egg and the spinach and the mushroom is all in that. Oh, there's so much garlic in this now then because I put garlic in the base as well.
Yeah, because that was spinach cooked with garlic and some ricotta cheese.
Yeah, whatever. Again, it's ziti. We don't give a shit.
Yeah, and it's also got some of the fake sausage mixed in there.
Oh, it's also got fake sausage in it. I'm vegetarian. I don't know if you guys know that or not, but I'm vegetarian, so there's fake sausage in here, not real sausage. I'm just gonna mix this all together. So my family, when my mother makes ziti, she like pours the noodles into the bowl that it's being baked in, and then she pours the sauce on top of it, and she stirs everything. And that is absolutely the dumbest way possible to do it, whenever I'm talking about how my mom cooks something, if it sounds like it's going to be a story about, you know, my fond memories of my mother's cooking, no, absolutely not. My mother is a terrible cook. So
I completely agree.
yeah, like regardless of where we are for the holidays, we'll be at their house for the holiday and we'll still do the cooking. Okay. So instead of trying to mix it in the bowl, I mix it in the much larger saucepan.
We might have more than our ZD pan holds.
And we might have more than our ZD pan holds. So this is actually helpful that I'm doing it this way because
we have a second pan.
Yeah, we have more pans. But again, that would have just been a hot mess trying to stir that in there. This is much better. This is another reason that I heat everything on the stove top first usually. Is because it does, oh my God. Ignore that mess that I'm making right now. I'm usually better at this, but I usually do it on the stove top. So if it's all heated, then of course it's all a lot sloshier and it mixes better. That is the other thing. I can remember childhood memories of my mother making ziti, and she would literally just dump the bucket of ricotta, the cup of ricotta directly into it, and it'd be all wobbly, you know, it's kind of like jello or like cranberry sauce when it comes out of the container. And that was how my mother did it.
Again, we've covered. Don't cook like your
Yeah. And that makes it terrible to stir. So like I know usually when you see recipes for ziti, they will absolutely tell you to kind of toss everything in cold. It's very rare that a recipe for ziti is going to tell you to make the sauce, unless it's a fancy recipe, which, as I said at the beginning of the show, you do not make ziti if you're going fancy. This is what people make when they want lasagna, but they don't feel like making lasagna. That's just my pro tip for ziti to make it a lot easier on you. Is you heat everything up first. Everything is already cooked. The only thing that is not cooked in here is the egg, just because it needs more time. The egg is a binder. There we go. So that looks pretty well mixed. And I've got my favorite Pyrex bowl right here that it's just going to get tossed in. It's a nice deep bowl. It has a lid. It's pretty much like the fanciest thing I've ever bought for the kitchen. And I got it for like $3 on clearance at an outlet mall. But look at that. Look at how amazing I am. Usually, I would also put some mozzarella in this mix, but I don't think it needs this time. We are going to cover it this time. Cover it both with mozzarella, and also what I was more meaning there as Ken hands me the mozzarella is can you pull up the brioche recipe?
Yes.
But no, I'm gonna cover it with cheese, and then I'm going to cover it with foil. Usually I would not worry about that, but because we've got a pregnant woman eating dinner, I just want to make sure that those eggs get really well cooked for her. I feel like we're out of that window. We keep talking about how we're out of the window of like worrying about salmonella and all of that because she's due in a week, but
wow, thanks for the reminder. I have a week left till I'm a father. And I wasn't freaking out enough because we just worked on the nursery.
Anyway, we're gonna cover this so we don't give cat salmonella. So basically the point of the covering is it will keep that mozzarella from burning so it can be baked longer. Again, this is really not something you have to worry about if you heated everything on the stovetop and you don't have anybody that is particularly susceptible to salmonella. As long as your eggs are good, It's a really, like, people eat raw eggs. It's not that big of a deal, but we're just doing a little extra precaution tonight for baby reasons. Okay, so that ziti is going to go in. We are going to put it in for a half hour, and then we're going to take that aluminum foil off of it, and we're going to let it go for another like 10-15 minutes at that point so that the cheese browns, because this prevents the cheese from burning, but it also prevents the cheese from browning, and if the cheese isn't brown, it's not a good ziti. Okay, so that was number 2. I got apple butter going here and the mandatory Star Wars novelty crock pot.
I totally didn't buy a new crock pot just because it was Star Wars.
We needed a crock pot that size. It was actually bigger.
But I did buy that one because it was Star Wars.
Yes, that was why that one was selected. So the last thing we're going to do right now is we're going to do round 2 on the brioche. When I made brioche last week, it did not rise. We've gotten a bit of advice from some people on what probably, the pronoun says congratulations on becoming a dad in the future. He put his arms up, there is a thing.
Thank you. I'm going to be a little nitpicky with the brioche now, since last time it did not work so well for us.
Okay, so right now he's blaming me for the brioche.
No, I'm saying for us. So I'm actually going to measure the temperature of our starter water for the yeast.
Oh, okay, yeah. So Ken is going to be in charge of the yeast. Now, I followed the directions in our cookbook for the last one, and it said use 1 package. Our package was slightly expired. It was foaming, but my baker friend said that doesn't necessarily mean that it's good. It can mean that there are some good cultures, but like the overall ones are bad. So this is a brand new package of yeast. And we're actually going to do 2 of them this time. Our friend recommended that because it's a brioche, we double up on the yeast. So
should I still use the same measurement of water, I assume? Yes.
I don't see why not. Oh, yeah, no, because we don't want to add any water to this. So what he's going to do, what Ken is going to do behind me is, oh, man, I destroyed a thing of tea. Ignore me. Don't mind that. I just realized that I had tea steeping for like an hour. So anyways, what he's going to do is he's going to get water up to 105 to 110 degrees, 115 degrees Fahrenheit. The numbers we use. And then he's going to dump this in there to soften it. Your mother did suggest that we do something where we put a bit of sugar in it to make sure it's good.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you're going to do that or not. This is brand new. We literally bought it 2 days ago. But so he is going to take care of the yeast off screen while I get everything else going. Man, that is, I got a new, this is okay. I got a new tripod, so I didn't have to keep moving my other tripod back and forth. I might actually swap them though. I might move my other tripod out here because it's still got better range. Oh no, I can't do that because of that clamp issue. Okay, so this is not terrible though. Okay. Oh shoot, you know what I forgot to do? Soften butter. We got all wound up doing everything else. We got this. So I'm kind of tempted to throw it in the oven with the ziti for a minute.
Put it in something in case it melts.
Well, yeah. You're not using this, right?
No.
Don't mind us for improvising. So if you forget to soften butter, your option is not to beat the crap out of it to make it soft. it really does have to be a temperature thing. As you might recall from last time when I did the cookies, even though I had softened them, they still were not where they needed to be, and everything went kind of disastrous for it. So this time, I sort of forgot to soften the butter. So I'm going to pop it in the oven with the ziti for a minute, which is actually the worst way of doing it, but I'm going to supervise it pretty hard. We also don't want melted butter, and that's where this is problematic. So hopefully Ken will also keep an eye on that, because as I just stated, I literally just ruined a pot of tea. I do also need a 1/3 cup of sugar. Oh, you know, there's hot water in here.
Oh, well, it's that temperature now.
Oh, okay. We're doing everything chaotically today. And this is also going back to that thing I said in the ziti about how we do not measure ziti. We don't measure. There's no measurement in ziti. You just do it. But in brioche, yes, both of them. You go real nuts with the measurement. Partially because science, this is a lot of science, and partially because we don't know what we're doing. And that is all the difference in the world. So I'm going to beat together the butter that I don't have yet, the 1/3 cup of sugar, and 3/4 teaspoon salt. Despite everything I just said, I'm not going to measure salt. And that just needs to be dissolved for 5. It just says let's stand for 5 to 10 minutes.
Yeah.
So as long as it's not sloshing around, we're good. Can I get a status update on that? Yes, thank you. Maybe smash it around a bit. I don't know.
It's starting to melt.
Well, that was part of it. Yeah.
I need something to check it out with.
Gotcha. So while we're trying to get that butter softened but not melted, I'm going to go ahead and measure out the 4 cups of all-purpose flour. Oof, if I can find my flour, there it is.
I have more.
Yes, we will need more flour than this, but we have more flour because we are responsible like that. Not for most things, but for this one thing, we are this responsible. So shimmy that out of the way. And fresh bag of flour is here. I'm going to dry this because obviously a wet measuring cup with water does not work. Okay. 1. Oh, this was slightly open, and that's okay. So.
We opened it last time we did brioche.
Oh, we opened it last time we did brioche. Okay. As you may recall from the from the cookies, we are getting better at this, but you know, baby steps.
Oh, it's just melting on the outside.
Can you smash it with like a wooden spoon?
We'll try.
Or not the wooden spoon because it's in the sink, but something like that. Or rinse off the wooden spoon and match it with that. He might be about to shove this in a potato ricer. I got him a potato ricer for Christmas. And of course, this is going to be the inauguration of the potato ricer. To scrunch up butter that I forgot to soften in advance.
Seems perfectly reasonable to me.
I feel like that potato ricer is going to get a great deal of mileage beyond ricing potatoes.
Oh, yes, it will. This is us. I'm going to put everything I can to smash in it.
Yeah. This is like when a frat house gets a fryer, except we're adults.
So we're excited about potato ricer.
Well, no, we're going to put everything in it, but we're actually going to be functional in everything that we put in it. The other thing that I didn't do last time. So the two things that my baker buddy suggested was that I needed to get newer, fresher, and doubled yeast. He also said it could have been that the fact that I covered the bowl directly, or covered the dough directly with plastic wrap. So I'm not going to do that this time either. I'm going to cover the bowl itself and not the, or cover the bowl and not the dough itself. The other thing, I think I'm gonna use the sifter. Oh, except there's stuff in the sifter.
What?
What is in the sifter? Okay, I'm not using the sifter because stuff is coming out of it.
Yeah, don't use the sifter.
What was that?
Don't use the sifter then.
I want to get rid of this sifter. Excuse me while I throw away our sifter. So now on the shopping list, flour sifter. So in lieu of flour sifter, I still do want to break this up a bit. So I'm actually gonna like whisk it, but with a fork. And you can use an actual whisk for this, but this does work to help break up those clumps just like a sifter would.
You're just trying to get the clumps broken up.
Yes, that's exactly what I'm doing. I probably could have used a little whisk as well. Either is fine.
Would you use an immersion blender?
No. Why do you say that? Have you done that?
Yes.
Have you? That's okay. Do not use an immersion blender to sift flour. That's insane. That's what we call overkill. Tomorrow, will I be using an immersion blender on the pear butter? It depends on if we have an immersion blender.
Yeah, we do.
We have an immersion blender, so that's what I'll be using.
Use that all the time.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I guess I have seen you use it. I don't know why I don't pay attention, but here we are. Okay. So this feels pretty well sifted at this point. How's the butter going?
It's coming.
Butter is coming. But
I'm working with it.
this is just part of trying to bake, but like being normal people trying to bake instead of professional people trying to bake. Sometimes this stuff happens.
I've gotten it pretty soft so that it can be worked with by smashing it a few times through the potato ricer.
So that is absolutely not a good way to soften butter because you do want it to be the right temperature, but Ken feels pretty okay about that. So we're going to go with this. So this is in the large mixing bowl. We are beating together butter, sugar, and 3/4 teaspoon salt with an electric mixer until fluffy.
Some of the butter did melt a little, which is not ideal.
All right, but hopefully it balances out. Where is there?
Oh yeah, look at how that yeast is.
Oh, holy crap! That is exciting. Okay, that's a huge difference from what we got yesterday. That is foamy. Or last week, whenever it was. Everything is yesterday.
That is what we want right now.
Okay, so I am going to beat these together. This is what it said to do until fluffy. That I remember last time was not fluffy at all. But my definition of fluffy and their definition of fluffy might have been two different things. It's a spatula. Perfect. It's already been used.
That's what I was using for the butter.
So we don't have any like normal spatulas here. We've got this pink and purple spatula, pink and blue. That's blue. It's kind of a blurple blue, but it's definitely a blue. And then we've got that weird green double-sided one.
I love my weird green double-sided one.
I'm not saying it's not a good spatula. I'm saying that all of our spatulas are weird. I love our pink and blue IKEA spatula.
And I don't do our favorite thing to do while we're cooking also.
Dishes.
Stay on top of the plate off the easier.
Ken's doing dishes. It's an essential part of cooking, especially when you are cooking 3 different things. So I don't know what they mean by fluffy because, again, this is something that does not get fluffy. It gets creamed. Butter and sugar combined are creamed. But we're going with that. So I'm going to add 1 cup of the flour. And I'm going to add the milk. And it's calling for a 1/2 cup of milk. No. I have a feeling that this is one of those things where I probably want room temperature milk as well. Just something to keep in mind if y'all are doing this. Typically when you're baking, it doesn't matter if it's spread that's got to rise. Does that change things at all?
I would imagine you don't want to shock the system of the yeast.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
And that's why the temperature of the milk is more important.
Yeah. So yes, you want to try to get all of your ingredients to be about the same temperature when you're baking. I was supposed to add the milk then. Ignore what I just did. You should get everything about the same temperature. We always leave our eggs out, which if you are not in the U.S., is probably like a really dumb thing for me to say. Of course you leave eggs out. In the U.S., we refrigerate our eggs. But we don't because we go through our eggs fast enough. There's no open milk in the fridge, right?
Oh, hold on. I wasn't sure which one was which. So.
The U.S. actually has
there's not an open one.
Less restrictions on eggs, on commercially produced eggs. So our eggs are actually a little bit less safe than everywhere else in the world. Go U.S.
But still, they do not have to be refrigerated like what people say.
Yeah, we go through our eggs in a week or 2 at most after we buy them. So our eggs are perfectly fine, always at room temperature. Butter is the same way. Milk is not, but if you are baking with milk, you should, you can literally just measure it in advance and let that sit out for about an hour to get it closer to room temperature.
Yeah, milk can sit out for a pretty good while.
Yeah.
We don't go through our milk fast enough.
I don't think most people in the U.S. go through milk fast enough to just leave it out.
No. Really don't want it out for more than a 24-hour period.
Yeah. Okay. So I just added 1 cup of the flour and the milk. I'm going to scrape down the sides on this. Okay.
Potato rice for butter.
So we got some goo there. So in this recipe, we were supposed to separate one egg so that we could save the egg white to use later. Do you think that egg white is still good?
Oh no, I used that egg white.
Oh, never mind. He used that egg white. Ignore this entire conversation. So I'm going to do this. This recipe, mad props to the person who wrote it, because instead of having us waste an egg or waste any part of an egg, it's calling for 3 eggs plus the yolk of an egg because we're going to need an egg white later. And I like that. I respect that. I'm going to save the egg yolk for now in this 3rd cup just because it's here. And at some point I will.
You mean egg white?
Yes. I'm going to save the egg white in this 1/3 of a cup because it's here. And then we'll transfer it into a proper container later. There are all kinds of crazy hacks out there for separating your egg yolk from your egg white. I don't want to come off as rude, but don't crack your egg like an idiot, and you don't need to worry about it. So look at how separated that is. Look at all that egg white I saved. I didn't have to do anything fancy. I didn't need to get a water bottle or anything.
You didn't have a special porcelain bowl?
I did not have a special porcelain bowl for this. All I did was cracked it at a flat surface and just carefully separated it however it happened to separate. In this case, I had kind of a lid thing, but if you look, oh God, I'm off camera for that. If you look, even though I only had this little bit of shell on this side, I was still able to separate that yolk. I didn't need to separate that yolk, but that is how easy it is to separate.
Quick side tangent. Is this for my compost?
Yes, absolutely.
Awesome.
So again, just to separate it wherever it cracked, real gentle like, and you will separate that egg yolk. That's it. But of course, don't be like real aggressive like me and just toss it in afterward if you do need to save it. This is also a big egg and I'm worried about it, but it's fine. Oh, technically you should not be pouring your eggs directly into the dough like that because sometimes you get bad eggs, literally. That's a do as I say, not as I do. So
we bought our eggs 2 days ago.
Well, yeah, but sometimes they're like gross eggs. Like it's rare. It's rare enough that I don't worry about it, but I do always feel like I should say that when I do stuff like that. Just
Look at that yeast go. That started as
yes, some people do use their hands to separate it. I don't think I need to get egg all over my hand though. I didn't need to. I didn't need to put my hand in an egg. Okay, so add the yolk and the remaining whole eggs in beaten mixture. What were you saying just now? Oh, the yeast. Ken's really excited about the yeast over here. Because it's way more exciting than last time, and we've learned a valuable lesson tonight.
It started as a 1/4 cup and it's grown up to being over a cup. So it is doing its thing. We know our yeast is good.
Okay, so I have added the egg mixture in there. I'm going to spin that just a little bit faster. And then next up is the yeast that Ken is super excited about.
Look, started with 2 packs of yeast and a 1/4 cup of water and just a bit of sugar, just a sprinkle.
That's how much it foamed. Oh, this is from the sugar that it did this.
I did, yeah. Well,
okay.
Just a little sprinkle, not even a measurement of sugar.
Yeah.
But that just to help feed it.
But that's also part of why it foamed so much more than the last time.
Yeah. Well, that and
right. That's what I'm saying. It's just also part of it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there is the yeast. And add softened yeast, beat well.
We already have a bowl to put it in, right?
No, I also do not have a bowl for the egg whites. Oh, that is stinky.
Yeah,
Woo!
that is doing a thing.
Yeast has an odor.
Yeah, it does.
I can't stress enough that I never do anything with yeast. I'm not saying I have a fear of it. I'm saying I've had bad experiences with it that prevent me from doing things with yeast. Okay.
Brewer's yeast. When I used to be a brewer, when I used to brew and stuff, that definitely. Oh, you can smell that.
Yeah.
There's a bowl for it.
Okay. Okay, so I am going to add I'm definitely going to add 1 more cup of flour into this and mix it with the whisk. And then from that point, I'll probably switch to the bread hook, but we will find out in a moment. Basically, we're just going to see what consistency this comes out every time I add more flour to it and decide from there. Again, I have actually no idea what I'm doing. I'm making an educated guess on that, but it sounds right. We have bread hooks for reasons, and this is bread, so I feel like this is the reason. I'm going to do 1 more scoop because that's still real runny. One of these days, I'm going to bake something that I'm actually like really good at. Like I'm going to make a damn tres leche or something. And you guys are going to be so amazed at my ability. But in the meantime, I'm learning to cook and also showing you my learning process. What about tres leche?
Your tres leche is really good.
It is really good. And it's really like cheating 100% because that's the thing about my cooking. A lot of it is cheating or just like being lazy. Do you have any idea what time to put that ziti in at?
Shortly after 6.
Okay. So it's 6:41, so I feel like the thing can come off of the ziti. We should have set a timer for the ziti. We did not. That's okay.
I'm gonna go a little longer with the foil.
Okay.
I'm not seeing the reaction on one of the things. We did have the oven open a lot for the butter and stuff too.
Okay.
But usually, you can see that sauce kind of starts to boil a little bit.
Oh, gotcha.
That's about the point I usually take foil off.
Okay. I usually don't use foil on ziti because everything is cooked already.
No, with my lasagna and stuff.
Yes. So everything.
You normally make ziti.
Yeah, I'm usually the one who makes ziti, and I make ziti because it's trash food. Ken's usually the one who makes lasagna because lasagna is fancy food. They're the exact same dish, exact same ingredients, just a different presentation. And so, like, he's waiting for a chemical reaction to happen, and I'm like, "Is it cooked? It's cooked. It's fine." Okay, so
I like seeing my little layers.
We'll do a lasagna show at some point. Last time we did lasagna, we just had too many people in the house. So it was kind of like a bitch move to be like, hey, y'all need to shut up or go somewhere else while we do this. Or like, yeah, just sit there staring at each other in our living room. So we didn't film that one, but we'll do it again sometime. Hopefully when we get a better rig going, because I'm still kind of.
Oh, I want to get my new smaller pan since the small pan.
Yeah.
And my big pan makes like lasagna for 30.
Yeah, we realized we were trying to figure out how to make make lasagna for a small gathering when we only have a pan that's like really, really deep, how he likes it, to feed about 40 people. We make gigantic lasagnas. We'll film that sometime too, just for the entertainment value of like, look at this gigantic lasagna that we made. But we finally realized that we can just get like a deep hotel pan and use that to bake lasagna in. So next time when we do film lasagna, we'll go ahead and use one of those pans. Because they come in metal sometimes. So, and like, what difference does it make that it's that real narrow or that real thin aluminum? Okay, So this is the last round of flour that's going to go into the brioche. So we are at about the end here. And we're just going to let this, again, get all of that flour picked up. The funny thing with this and me not having any knowledge of what I am doing is, again, because I was a cake decorator, I worked in a bakery that baked bread for years. And I'm looking at this, like, does this look like what they did? And I have no idea because I never would have stuck my head in the mixer's bowl. Not for safety reasons, but for like not giving a shit. And here I am regretting it now. But this is looking a lot like what I remember walking by when I was like going to the dish pit or to the restroom or whatever and had to pass by their area. I was warned that this was going to be a very sticky dough, and this is looking sticky. I'm worried now because there was stuff at the bottom that did not, I don't think it got picked up in there. So I'm going to stop this and I'm going to scoop at the bottom.
She's up here, princess. That is looking like a dough.
Yeah. Okay. So hopefully this next round will get up all of that extra flour. I also should have asked, like, it's always run at a real low speed at the store. And I wish I knew if that was because it has to be at a slow speed or if that was just the speed that that thing moved at. I'm gonna call it. Am I? What do you think?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So we are going to try to let it rise the same way that we did last time. And that was according to the directions or according to the recipe, instead of putting it in a proofing situation with like in a warm location, we're going to put it in the fridge overnight, 12 to 24 hours, and it should proof just like it would normally if you like put it in a proof box for 2 hours and then let it sit out for a few more hours. Or just put it back in the fridge for a few more hours after that. We're going to try it again. We're going to cross our fingers. If it fails again this time, we're going to assume that that is the problem and the recipe itself is bad. But this recipe is from Better Homes and Gardens, and we do trust them above pretty much all other cooking sites. We just don't always use them because they do tend to be a little old school because that cookbook is 90 years old. So, oh, was this supposed to be greased? Was it?
I believe.
Hold on 1 second. We're going to see if we have to grease the cookbook. And of course, I just closed it before we can check that.
Oh, but I managed to magically when I went through it.
Nice. I thought this is what I had to grease the cookbook. Or cook the
Like in
bowl
a grease bowl, yes.
Okay. So we are going to grease the bowl with Crisco.
Mm-hmm.
Clean this, please. Unfortunately, all of our cooking stuff sits on like a shelf that's just like open and out there. So, and below our counter. So a lot of our stuff ends up getting encrusted in like cat hair and kitchen grease. But like you don't notice it as it's happening, but it builds up over time. And all of our containers slowly get gross.
Especially the ones we don't use.
Yeah, and we never use shortening. The shortening, if shortening has an expiration date, I'm sure this is expired, yes. We're not going to talk about what the expiration date is on it, but I assure you that it is heftily expired.
Oh no, our fake lard.
Yeah.
Vegetables.
The good news is I know enough about shortening to know that that doesn't matter. It only matters if you start seeing it separate. And when I say separate, it's not actually separating. The entire thing is a single entity. It is all vegetable oil, but it's hydrogenated, which means it's blasted with hydrogen to make it solid. And so when you see a film on the top of really, really old shortening, that film is just vegetable oil that blasted hydrogen has come out of. That's all it is. It's the exact same stuff. It's just whether
it's in liquid or solid.
Yeah. Okay. So we are done with the brioche. This is going to go in the fridge. I need to wash this off of my hand. I'm sorry.
I'm checking the Ziti. Now I'm seeing the chemical reaction I want.
Okay. Ken is now seeing the chemical reaction that he wants to do. I am going to cover this with plastic wrap. The arch nemesis of this kitchen, except I don't spaz about it. I just suffer through it.
Yeah, well, aren't you special because you don't spaz over the...
Do we have more?
It's taken us like 7 years to use that much.
No, I'm asking because we're almost out.
Oh, no.
Like, that's it. This is actually the end of it.
Okay. We can finally replace that annoyance.
My problem with plastic wrap is, of course, that it just does not stick to anything like it's supposed to. So I'm just twisting it on the side, and I burped it, but I don't think that makes any difference at all because there's no way this thing is actually sealed because it's goddamn plastic wrap. But it is as sealed as it is going to be. I am going to pop this in the fridge. It is going to stay there overnight. I've got this crock pot of pears and seasoning and sugar. That is also going to stay overnight. And tomorrow morning, I will finish up both of these projects. But in the meantime, we're going to go eat some baked ziti. So we're not gonna. I was trying to have like a nice sounding send off, and then Ken had to ruin it with it's not ready yet. So we're gonna do this. We're gonna call it a day because that ziti is not ready for us to present it to you, but we are done with everything else we needed to do. So we will see you hopefully tomorrow morning for the big reveal. Did the brioche, or did it die? As is our way. So you guys have a great night and a happy new year. And we'll be back tomorrow for some more cooking adventures. Bye, guys.